Welcome back, guys. This is Shinoo at InoKinetic. You're in for a treat today. We have got Guy Evans, the founder and CEO of Nitron Racing Systems, with us to talk to us about his company. And he's going to break some really exciting news. Two different bits of news that is, in my mind, particularly exciting for those of us here in the US of A. So anyways, sit back, enjoy this video with Guy Evans of Nitron Racing Systems. Guy, welcome to InoKinetic in rainy California weather here.
Thank you.
So we're excited to have you as a guest on our video interview series here at InoKinetic. We have so many viewers that are Lotus guys and handling guys and performance guys. So having you here to talk about Nitron Racing Systems is going to be, I think, a special video for our viewers. So thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So Guy, you and I have known each other for a very long time. We started doing business back in, I think, 2005.
Yeah, it must have been 2005. Yeah. A long time ago.
Yeah, but your company is actually celebrating a big milestone this year, 25 years in business.
Yes. Yeah, so next month we will have been effectively in business for 25 years.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah. April 98.
So take us back to the beginning.
The beginning.
Tell us about Guy Evans.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm the son of a military pilot, fast jet test pilot, and I guess the speed genetic was passed down to me. But it was in cars I was interested. My father's frustration with my lack of interest in aircraft, and I just focused on cars from a very young age. You know, age of 12, I was persuading him to try to modify this and modify that about the car, and you know, I had a lucky and interesting life as a child. And by the time I was 17, I started to build cars of my own.
Amazing, yeah.
So literally bunch of tubes, gas welder, because that's all I had, and let's get making space frames and putting bodies on. First car I built was a space frame Mini, like a classic Mr. Bean type Mini. Mm-hmm. And then mid-engine special, and then the third car was a composite monocoque mid-engine special.
Nice.
So by the time I was 22, I'd finished 3 race cars.
Wow.
And I'd also completed a degree in industrial design engineering.
Okay.
Which covered materials and processes and machining and production, and so for me it was fantastic. So
excellent. So did you jump straight into the auto industry?
No.
You didn't?
No.
All right. What else?
No. Well, then I had some flying lessons. I don't know why. I can't explain it.
Well,
and I landed.
The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, right?
They do say that, and so I landed up joining the military.
Okay.
And I spent a few years in the military, and enjoyed it. But then on leaving, I went just directly straight back into cars, going to work for Brands Hatch Racetrack.
Nice.
And
was that before the trip with the Defender from?
All right.
From England all the way to, I believe, my motherland, India, and back, right?
There was a year I spent on the road, and that was on leaving the Air Force. Okay. And I took an old leaf-sprung Land Rover, and drove him from the UK all the way to India and back.
Excellent.
That was quite an encouraging.
But a motorcycle guy as well.
Yep.
But so again, you left the service, and then.
Yep. And so then really kicked around engineering. Okay. Got into all kinds of stuff, but all the time working with cars. Mm-hmm. And then after a spell at SPACs and WP shock absorbers, I then decided I really needed to stop complaining and just make my own shock.
Right.
You know, if I wanted something different, it's not going to happen. I need to make it myself.
Sure. And
so I started the very initially painful process of setting up a company and discovering all the things that I didn't know.
Well, you know, the thing is, if you had known all those things when you started, you might not have started, right?
That's true. That's true, like many things.
That's the funny parts of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
If you really knew what you know today, you might not have actually got and started the business.
It's true. It's true. So I knew about the engineering side and the design side, but I really didn't understand customers. I didn't understand the distribution, pricing, servicing elements, all the things that I need to provide. There was just so much that I didn't know.
Sure.
But I was determined to make it work.
Right.
So I worked very long, hard hours, unimaginable really. But at the time when you're younger, you've got that energy and you're just determined stubbornly to make it work, holding down another couple of jobs in the beginning.
Sure.
Even having to build my own workshop to actually start it all off.
Yep.
I sold my house, downsized, put the cash in the company, as you do. The idea that banks are going to give you the money is just ridiculous. And then built my workshop, got on making shocks, learning all the painful lessons as you go, but just making it work. And the first products were Lotus and TVR.
Excellent.
They were the first products.
Sure, because that's the late 90s, and Series 1 Elise had been introduced to the market, and was an amazing revolution. Like, here it is, Lotus going back to the roots.
Yeah, the very first editions of the Elise, which I've been working with, were very pure.
Yes.
You know, they really were such pure cars. They had no power really, and so you had to really keep the momentum going through the turns. It was all about the handling.
Okay.
And what a great chassis to work with. They're very stiff, responsive to changes. And so we made really good progress with the Lotus products.
Sure.
And became known for our Lotus products.
Absolutely.
I had a number of race cars.
Right.
In fact, you drove one?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
It was probably in 2009, 2010, roughly. Ralph Provitz of V2 Motorsports, and I had come over to get some training from Nitron. Learn more about your products and how to rebuild them. And you said, hey, I've got this race car. I'm going to Bedford. You guys want to go? We're like, drive a race car? Of course. Of course.
In the wet.
In the wet. So my fine viewers, what you may not realize is this car had a fixed race seat in it. And Guy's about 12 inches taller than I am. So you can imagine I could not reach the pedals.
Full caged, everything
full
fixed.
Cage. This was a proper Lotus race car. Well, I get in the car. It's raining cats and dogs that day as well. And I'm like, how am I going to drive this thing? Well, we ran back in the hotel, grabbed a bunch of towels, and that's what I used to bring the seat, in a position where I could reasonably drive the car.
So the semi-slick cars, and I remember it span a lot that day, and it was
it was wet.
Yeah, that was fun though. It was
very, very fun. That was a great day. A lot of fun.
Yeah. So
you're very much well known for your product line in the Lotus. But then you expanded. You went into motorcycles. You got into other four-wheel cars. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, in the very early days of making shocks, you're starting your own company, and I'd been working with the bike shocks at WP, and you think, do I want to have one shock sale per customer, or do I want to have 4 shock sales per customer?
Sure.
So let's start with the cars.
Yep.
But then there is that draw back to the bikes.
Right.
So within the second year, we were making bike shocks. And then we started adding our first reservoir units were for bikes, not for cars.
Okay.
And it grew from there.
Sure.
So we started making bike shocks kind of on the side of the main car production.
Okay.
And we had one employee, and it was his second job, and he's still with me today.
Excellent.
And heads up bike R&D. And the bike side grew alongside the car side, but the car side was always the key part of Nitron.
Okay.
All the way to today, where revenue-wise, we are 50-50.
Okay.
We have a production line in Japan.
Right.
And that produces quite a lot of bike shocks out there.
Absolutely.
Where we create the parts in the UK, and then we send them to Japan, where we put them together as the customer needs them.
Sure.
Which is the way to do it, using Japanese staff.
Absolutely.
In the UK, we're doing the design, the engineering, the testing, prototyping, and we're limited by the cars that we can see.
Right.
But we do what we can in the UK.
Absolutely.
And that has led us through our Lotus work to be OEM fitment on quite a few things. So, for example, the the Lotus series. That led us to effectively producing Lotus shocks for the factory. And that was a great coup. And that came about from working with Gav Kershaw from Lotus, doing a 24-hour Nürburgring race.
Sure.
And one thing led to another. And we really...
Gavin's now like the
head of engineering.
Vehicle, he's got an interesting title. Head of Vehicle Attributes Engineering or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But essentially a ride and handling engineer.
He's the guy that signs it off.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. That's what he does. So having had a very good time at the Nürburgring with Gav, that led us to be fitted as OEM production for about 7 years at Lotus, where all of the high-end cars, all of the high-end V6 Exiges were all fitted with Nitron from the factory. And we did some limited runs of one-way shocks, but these are all three-way products.
Yeah, and kudos to Nitron. I mean, that's a huge step up. To go from being an aftermarket supplier to an OEM supplier is a real significant accomplishment. Having come from an OEM supplier, having worked at an OEM, I know, as well as having an aftermarket company, I know the difference, in expectations and quality. So congrats on that.
I mean, we're supplying Honda in Asia with motorcycle products.
That's right.
And the expectations are high and the price point is low. But we work hard to achieve what we can do. But I've got to say, Shinoo, one thing that has always been the backbone of everything that I've done has been design, the quality of design and the quality of the product.
Right.
And those are things that I will not sway from.
Sure.
So everybody involved in the whole Nitron process must follow that.
Absolutely.
And we won't move away from it. And it works well for us. Yeah. There are limitations and there are things that we can't do and markets we can't get into. But we're okay with that because we're good at what we do.
Right.
And that is a very niche market.
So in a related manner, I guess it's a pretty good segue. You shared some interesting pictures of the latest Lotus in your workshop.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Okay, so the Emira.
Yes, the Emira.
Yep. The British Racing Green Emira with a dark tan interior.
Yeah, very nice color.
Yeah. I'm going to say, first of all, it's a very pretty car.
Okay.
When you see it in the flesh, it's a very nice car. Yeah. It's a GT car.
Right.
So it's not a track monster. It's not meant to be. And I think Lotus have, in fairness, done a superb job on that car.
Okay. That's
the build quality, they've lifted the whole game up. It really is a very, very interesting car. So we're going to design, we have designed already, a full suite of products for that car.
Okay, take us through the product lineup.
There's going to be the person that just wants to lower it. So springs,
okay.
And then leading on to one-way fixed shocks that are preset with a little bit of lowering on them. Then you've got the one-way adjustable shocks for street use. And then you go on to the different types of multi-adjustable.
Right.
Up to the full billet machined platform system, where the whole thing is hogged out of solid. That's the premium product. And then we go slightly sideways with our electronic product, the Electron shocks.
Okay.
So these are shocks that are operated with a solenoid valve.
Okay.
So the solenoid valve takes the place of what you would imagine to be your manual adjuster. But instead of presetting it to a certain position, it's constantly adjusting. And it can go from full soft to full hard in 25 thousandths of a second.
Wow, that's fast.
Very fast. And that's a proprietary valve.
Okay.
So robust, reliable. We've been running them extensively for over a year now. The applications we've done so far, BMW and Porsche, proving to be really good product. And we're combining that, so that's plug and play product, but we're combining that with our own controller, which is built by a tier 1 supplier.
Great.
So
very high quality then.
Proper quality.
Great.
I'm not going to use any cliches. It's just it's what you need to have, where you can fit it, you can rely on it, and you don't have to think about it again.
Right.
And to that connects an app, and then through the app you can then dial in and tune your shocks for how you feel that day or the conditions. So you can say, I want to drive racetrack, I want to drive touring, it's slippery, or I want more front or more rear or more roll control. And you can tune it through the app, and it tunes it live. There's no writing to the system. It's just constantly live. So you can have a second phone if you wanted to on your dash, or you could just do it through your primary phone. You can dial it in, and then as you're driving it, think, actually it's turned wet. I'm going to put on that it's wet conditions. And that's something we're going to offer for the Emira.
And I think that's great because the Emira, as you said, is going to be a GT car.
Yes.
And it's going to appeal to a much broader audience than the pure track focused, individual or canyon carving type of, client. So I think that's going to be a very, very important product in your lineup.
Yeah.
We just got some news this week that the Emira is delayed to the fourth quarter of 2023. So maybe some of your products, at least in this lineup, will be ready by the time the cars actually arrive here in the States.
Yeah, I'm sure they will be. And it's worth waiting for. It's a great car.
Yeah,
I've got to say it is a great car.
We're excited. I'm looking forward to seeing that car, and have made a couple of videos talking specifically about my view on it being a great GT. So, but having said all of that, you're actually here for another even more exciting reason.
Yes.
Tell our viewers about what you have in store for us here in the good old US of A.
Okay, well, we've not talked about this before openly. This is something that you've been aware of because I've been working on it for a while. So from last summer, we've been putting the pieces in place for us to open our own tech center here in Southern California. In fact, here in Temecula. And the reason for doing that is our lack of penetration into the US market. We have penetration, but it's not where I think it should be. You think about the US market for shocks. It is arguably bigger, and I'm certain it is, than the rest of the world combined.
Sure.
It is that serious a market. We have a complete range of current motorcycle product ready to go, and all the bikes here are the same. We have car product that we have been selling successfully for Corvettes and BMWs and Porsches, but we're just not getting the traction in the market. And the reason is people are reluctant to go and spend their money on something from the UK. What happens when it needs servicing? What happens if it needs to be fixed, it needs to be revalved, or they need a spare part?
Capabilities.
We're putting in a full tech center. So that's going to be service, repair, modification, spare parts, and new build.
Great.
So US product will be built here in the US. The factory in the UK will carry on doing design work of componentry, stress analysis, and the manufacture of the parts. Not to say we won't manufacture parts here, but initially it's not on my target list of things to tackle.
Sure. But you'll do some assembly here, of course.
The assembly will be done here.
The
assembly will be done here.
Absolutely.
So valves and things most probably continue to be assembled in the UK, so much like we do for Japan.
Okay.
But the finished product, if somebody says, I've got an M4 track car and it's running on slick tires with lots of aero and I need a shorter product, that's not a problem because it's going to be built here.
Well, that's one of the things that always impressed me about Nitron is how modular your systems were. So that facilitates exactly this type of business decision, right?
Yes.
Is to have an operation in the UK, an operation in Japan, and now one in the US as well. So
we've got the experience in Japan, which we've been running for 17 years now.
Right.
And I think that, talking about COVID, we stocked up on parts during COVID.
Right.
I saw that you couldn't have COVID and not have a knock-on effect.
Sure. So
we were lucky that we're able to afford to really stock up on our inventory of parts, because if you can't build it, you can't sell it.
Right.
And luckily for us, it worked out okay. We didn't stop production for a day. We were very busy during COVID. But we've come out the other side with a lot of stock of parts still.
Good.
And that's a tremendous starting stock for America. Absolutely. We can literally cut a third of our inventory off and send it out here as a starting stock.
Sure.
And this really is, I want to reiterate, it's a factory effort. This is not some other company that's going to be set up that's got nothing to do with us. This is entirely our own.
Absolutely.
And we'll be running it, offering the full Nitron service that we would do back in the UK.
Sure.
Giving customers in America the feeling that should they go and buy the product, at no point is there going to have to be sorry, the UK is this or the UK is that.
Right.
It's not going to be sent there. It's not going to rely on parts to come over from the UK. They're all going to be here.
Right. Related is you're going to be developing product for vehicles that are sold here
Yep.
in the States.
There are cars here that we don't get.
Absolutely.
I mean, somebody might have imported one, but then it's going to be their cherished baby, and they're not going to let us rip it apart.
Yep.
Whereas out here, they're going to be everywhere, and we can get hold of them, and we can do things to them that that is acceptable.
Yep.
But it allows us to develop the product that is specific to this market,
Right.
and also test locally. I mean, California is a great place if you want to test off-road. So we will be adding trucks to the inventory.
Okay.
And doing
Well,
more.
it's a huge truck market here. I mean,
Yeah.
It's just blinding.
I've seen it.
Huge.
Yeah,
Right.
I've seen it. Yep.
Absolutely great.
Yep.
Well, related to that, you've also agreed to look at our Drakan and supply us with dampers for
Yep.
our Drakan car.
We will be making some very exciting dampers for the Drakan. We've got a huge range of, as you have said, of modular inventory of parts. And so there's some proper sexy parts I can think of that would just be perfect for the car. You've got the high visual appeal of where they are
Yep.
exposed on the car.
Right.
But also it's a car that's going to need good shocks. There's no doubt about that.
We spent so much time, with our ride and handling engineer, Dave Tilleas, dialing the car in. So, the compliance that this car has. And honestly, I'm going to give that credit to you. The first time we got a set of Nitron triples, and that little magic screw, that high-speed compression,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how compliant a car could be and still have grip.
Yeah.
And that came from a set of Nitron triples. And so when we set up this Drakan, I told Tillenius very clearly, I said, listen, man, this car cannot beat up our clients. It has to be compliant.
Yes.
And, that is one of the absolute calling cards and strengths of the car. And so I look forward to dialing in a set with you on that car. But having said all of that, Guy, I'm very, very excited that you've chosen our town here to set up your new operation. And so congratulations.
Thank you.
25 years of history.
25 years,
As of April, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and I have known each other for it seems like since 2005 at least, and so it's we've had a lot of fun together, and so thanks again for joining us.
Very pleased to be here.
Yeah, no, it's really great and exciting to hear about the past and where the future is for Nitron, and so thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, sir.
Thanks.